In the weeks leading up to his eventual indictment, Donald Trump tried desperately to rally his base of supporters. But now that the former president has officially been indicted by a Manhattan grand jury, right-wing extremists and conspiracy theorists are grappling with how to spin what could be Trump's most serious legal trouble yet. New reporting from Vice lays out how some members of the pro-Trump message board, The Donald, responded to the indictment. Quote, commenters openly called for violence that was largely racist in nature. There were also many users calling for civil war on the platform. Some users laid out more detailed plans discussing militias and boycotts and tax avoidance, while another simply wrote war. Joining me now, NBC News senior reporter Brandy Zadrozny. She covers misinformation and extremism on the internet. Brandy, thank you for being here. What are you seeing online among far-right extremists in response to the indictment?
Hey, thanks for having me. Good morning. So the response is really all over the map. Everyone is mad. Of course, all the president's supporters are angry because they see this as an injustice, right? Another injustice. But they really, the good news here is that, these folks are so used to seeing things that they consider injustices. So they think that this is really just another witch hunt, the same way that, the impeachment was, or that all the numerous investigations against Trump were. And so because they feel like they've seen this movie so many times, people in, the mainstream right-wing media who are thinking this will clinch the nomination for Trump are really, I'm seeing a lot of that parroted online as well, right? Now, there are some specific threats. We've been following this as well with these groups, the Institute for Strategic Dialogue and Advanced Democracy, Inc. And again, the good news is that there are no specific or credible threats of violence like we saw January 6th on these forums. But what we have seen are, specific we've seen general threats like war or, seeing something like specifically targeting Bragg or the DOJ generally. And, that is concerning because when you have stuff like that, people vilifying Bragg, and when you have this sort of vilification coming from Trump specifically to Bragg or the judge that invokes Soros or race baiting, that kind of language has the danger of singling out specific people for targeted violence. And it has the danger of lighting up specific individuals who are more likely to do something, who are more likely to commit a single act of violence. We just saw, I'm thinking of Paul Pelosi, the attack on Paul Pelosi from a single individual lit up by online rhetoric. And that can happen here.
And I want to come back to the Soros angle here for a moment, but let's talk about Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's tweeted that she would be traveling to New York on Tuesday and urging her followers to protest the unconstitutional witch hunt. That's a direct quote. Do you view her tweets as a call to action?
I think that she'd like it to be, I don't know. Again, it's on January 6th, we had Stop the Steal groups that within 24 hours had something like 330,000 members on Facebook. That was an organizing event. Marjorie Taylor Greene has said that she's coming to New York on Tuesday, but when we've looked at sort of people engaging with that tweet, or when we've looked at trying to find groups who are actually turned on by that message and are starting the next organizing step, that we haven't found. And, one of the problems is that a lot of these people, supporters, are looking to the January 6th defendants, the people who are sitting in prison right now, and thinking that they've unfairly been targeted, but they remain in prison. So the question that they have, and we're seeing them have online, is, wait, if we come, what's going to happen to us when we get rounded up and people like Marjorie Taylor Greene go back home?
Right.
And that's a real question that they have, that being unfairly targeted themselves.
And Brandy, we have less than a minute left, but I want to come back to the Soros angle here, where the DA has been called, the Soros-backed Manhattan DA. That is clearly an anti-Semitic conspiratorial smear against George Soros. But has that become the mainstream thinking of the Republican Party at this point?
Well, listen, I've been doing this a while, as have you. I'm old enough to remember the Tea Party, and this Soros language has been used for the last 2 decades, right? This is not new. What is new, I think, as you said, is the mainstreaming of it. This is no longer from the fringes. This is coming from the former president of the United States. And when you have that kind of language, and then you pair it with a post on Truth Social that Donald Trump recently did, which he said something like, how much more are American patriots expected to take? Those two things together, it really does, it lights people up in a way that can be dangerous.